Hi, everybody. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the audio tonight. Everything looks like it's set up the way it's supposed to be. I'm not quite sure why the audio is problematic. I'm going to wait for a couple people to log on to this third attempt, um, and we'll try to do the live stream. If not, we'll just call it quits for tonight. Um, so. So if you are currently watching and you can hear me, if you will just put into the chat whether or not you can hear my voice, that would be great. If not, we'll have to reschedule tonight's live stream. Everything looks good on my end in terms of audio. We can hear. Okay, Mev, thank you, Mev. All right, yay! The audio's working. How about that? Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mev. Thank you for your patience as we figured out this audio issue. My name is Todd Scholl. I serve as the lead learner for the SEEA Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. I want to thank those of you who stuck around through those audio technical difficulties to watch tonight's live stream. We're going to be taking a look at 2 episodes of the docuseries I created called ReHUMANizing School. Before we dive into those episodes, I want to it's really important for me because I think people sometimes misunderstand why I created this docuseries and what the intent is. So it's really important for me to explain that before we get started, but we will watch 2 episodes tonight. So let me start here. I was born and raised in Syracuse, New York. My grandfather was a public school educator. My mom was the first person in her family to go to college and got a scholarship to go to SUNY Oswego to become an educator. My dad, who was the son of a principal, became an educator and spent 50 years in the classroom, most of that time teaching special education. When I was right before my sophomore year of high school, my parents decided to move to South Carolina. So we moved to Conway, South Carolina. I went to Conway High School, graduated there in '89. I actually took teacher cadets. It was my Spanish teacher who created teacher cadets, and I was in one of the first groups of teacher cadets at Conway High School. But I had no inclination to become a teacher. I did not want to become a teacher. I saw what my parents went through and felt like it would be tough. And so I was going into broadcast journalism, and that's what my degree is in, broadcast journalism. But when I went into radio as a profession, I realized that there was something, it felt like something was missing. And that thing that was missing was like deep meaning. And for me, I saw my parents, even though it was a stressful profession, they seemed to find deep meaning in their work. So I got certified to teach, and I started teaching in 1995. My first job was at Lakewood Elementary School. I did 2 years there. And then when they opened Carolina Forest High School here in Horry County, I went to work there and started a broadcast journalism program. So my degree came in handy. I spent 15 years there. I also started their teacher cadet program at Carolina Forest. And then in 2011, I was invited to go join the staff at SARA. SARA is our Center for Educator Recruitment, Retention, and Advancement. And I just stayed there. I was on their senior staff for 10 years. And then now I'm working with the SCEA. This is my 30th year. As I finish this year, it'll be my 30th year in public education. All 3 of my children went through public schools. So I care very, very much about the institution of public schools. I feel like public schools are essential to our democracy. I bristle at the privatization efforts, but I think it's really important while we are uplifting the institution of public schools that we also not be scared to critique the system that is running and is operating our public education system. That system, I feel like, has its roots when the Nation at Risk report came out during the Reagan administration. So this goes all the way back to the 80s at least. And demonized teachers' unions, demonized teachers, made it seem like teachers were just lazy and that public education was failing in America, that we were falling behind our international peers. So there was this whole narrative that public education was failing. And so the only way they could address that would be if they if they enacted an accountability system. So the standardized tests over the course of the past 4 decades have become more and more important. And whether it's now No Child Left Behind or Race to the Top, we have seen many administrations push the idea that these standardized tests and the funding tied to them will dictate sort of what happens in our schools, because the federal policy and the federal funding, the states, in order to accept that, have to also accept the testing that goes along with that. So the idea is that taxpayers can't possibly know the quality of their public school system unless there's some standardized way of testing kids. And so what's happened is a lot of our school system, a lot of our schools have warped themselves around meeting the needs of the test, and the test has become sort of godlike because it drives the algorithm. It's the driving algorithm behind what happens during the school day in a lot of cases. Now, there are a lot of great teachers who work within that system to do amazing work. I've been all over this state. I've been in different parts of the country, and there are public school educators doing amazing things within a system that really does not serve them or their students well. So this is when I critique, I'm not critiquing teachers. I'm not even critiquing administrators. I'm critiquing the system that says that standardized testing is the end all be all and is the way we have to the way we can determine whether a school is successful or not, the way we can determine whether a teacher is effective or not. I think it's like Diane Ravitch says, we can pretty reliably predict the standardized test scores of a school based upon socioeconomic factors. It's strongly correlated to that. So if politicians were really interested in improving education, what they would do is ameliorate the conditions of poverty and other social factors that contribute to educational loss and issues. But that's not what they do. They would rather demonize the teachers and make it seem like the teachers are the ones at fault when we're actually the ones on the front line doing the best that we can within this system that they've sort of forced on us. And what that system does sometimes is, with scripted curricula, with pacing guides, is it's taken an art form and in some cases turned it into sort of the painting by numbers system. And a lot of educators who are great bristle at that because they didn't get into the profession to paint by numbers. They're creative, smart, really intelligent people who just want to go in and do a great job and meet the needs of their students. And sometimes meeting the needs of your students means that you're not going to stick to a pacing guide. It means that you might dive deeper into something that the students really find interesting. It means that you have time for things like recess and field trips and other things that students need to be physically, mentally, socially, and emotionally well. But when the standardized testing is set up as the god, and that's how the public and everyone's going to determine whether a school is successful, then what happens is the school system emphasizes the things that are necessary in their minds to maximize those scores, which means things like recess and field trips and other things and arts often get thrown by the wayside, and more time is needed to get the kids ready for the test. I think this creates a system where teachers are increasingly stressed out, where we're not meeting the needs of teachers or the students. And so that's my assessment in 30 years of being in public education. So when I went to work for Sarah, one of the things that was really important to me, and one of the things that has been driving me in the creation of Cool, is I wanted teachers to suffer less and flourish more. I really, really wanted. I saw a lot of teachers when I go and work with them will break down crying in front of me. I hear reports. And they tell me directly of the enormous stress that they're facing. And yes, better pay would help, because if you're not having to work a second job, that would definitely help. And yes, working conditions and classroom sizes and all of those things are really important. We need to advocate for better contracts and so forth. But I don't think we're going to really get to the root of the issue until we address what I'm talking about, which is we've got to stop deifying standardized test scores. And so when I went to work for Sarah, um, I started to promote mindfulness, and I had this session on mindfulness, and I've delivered that session over the past 12 years, probably like 200 or 300 times at least. We've done mindfulness retreats. Yelena Popovich and I started a mindfulness retreat here in South Carolina like 8 years ago, and the idea was to try to create space for teachers to process and renew themselves and decompress and to have a tool that would help them manage the stress of their lives. But what I realized was when you just tell somebody to breathe through their exploitation, that that starts to feel like you're just telling them to be complacent and just to that the problem is them and not really the system. So when we created Cool, what we wanted to do is marry these two ideas that we would help improve the inner and outer lives. So you'll notice that when with Cool, what we do is we do still have the mindfulness retreats, we do yoga, we do self-care sessions, but we also advocate fiercely for the kinds of working conditions that teachers need, and we speak boldly about the issues that they're facing. So that's really what Cool is all about. And I wanted to, with this docuseries, the idea was I had done some research on mindfulness and education, but not a lot of public schools were doing that. In fact, I couldn't find any public schools that were doing it. So in 2013, I did a Google search for who does mindfulness in school. And this small little school called Blue Mountain School in Floyd popped up, and I reached out to them. And then I went and I spent 3 days just observing this little school in rural Southwest Virginia, in a small one stoplight town called Floyd. So Floyd is a really unique town, a really cool town. So I observed them for 3 days, took some video footage, brought it back, made it part of the presentation, and then I thought about it a lot, but I didn't go back and visit the schools, and time just went on. And then when we created Cool, I was like, what I'd really like to do is to go back and videotape this school with better equipment and me knowing a little bit more about how to film. And film what's going on there, along with this other school that's popped up in the area called Springhouse. And so I went with the camera equipment in October of 2022. So this is almost 2 years ago. I went with a camera and shot footage and shot interviews, and I pieced this together into a docuseries. It's a 4-part docuseries, and it basically, the first episode is about Blue Mountain School from the teacher's perspective. The second is Springhouse from the teacher's perspective. And then what we're going to watch tonight is from the student perspective, both schools, Blue Mountain and Springhouse. So we're going to watch those. And the reason why I created this, and here's the controversial part, is they're both private schools. And so when people find that out, they find out, well, these are private schools. Are you trying to glorify privatization? Nothing could be further than the truth. I am not trying to promote private schools. What I've found is it's very difficult to find schools that are prioritizing human wellness, and I mean in a really deep and powerful and meaningful way within the public education system, because of the demands that standardized testing places on the system and on the school. So the school has to pay attention to these standardized tests in such a way that I think sometimes they have to sacrifice the human wellness of the people, the teachers and the students, not because that's what they want to do, but because they feel like, well, if we fail these tests, then we're going to get our hands slapped, and the State Department might come in and take us over. A principal might feel like I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get, relieved of my duties. And so there's all this top-down pressure to do well on these standardized tests. And that means that sometimes the things that people need, including the teachers, often get sacrificed. Those human needs get sacrificed. So I wanted to go somewhere where the first priority wasn't testing, where the first priority was actually the human beings, the teachers and their social emotional lives, and the students and what they need, and that follows their interests, rather than following the needs of a pacing guide and a strict curricula. So that's what this is. That's what this whole docuseries is about. And so I hope people don't misunderstand The last thing that I want is to promote privatization. My whole family, including my children, have benefited from the public education system. We need to strengthen the public education system, not give into privatization where we're basically giving gift certificates to people to send their kids to private schools that are unaccountable and can discriminate against kids. That's the worst thing that we can do, is to privatize. We see what privatization's done to the healthcare system. Why would we want to do that to our public education system? Why would we want to turn it over to privatizers where the primary motive for them is profit? I mean, that seems like one of the worst things that we can do. We come together as a country, as a state, and counties and local communities to pay for the education of young people, because we know that creates a stronger county, a stronger state, a stronger country. And by privatizing it, what we would do is we create have and have-nots where we already have that. It would be even worse, because then people will send their kids to private schools, and the people who can afford the great ones will do that, and the people who can't will be stuck with schools that maybe aren't as good. And my concern is that those schools, there should be a form of public accountability. It just shouldn't be the test. It shouldn't be a standardized test, or at least the standardized test shouldn't be the only thing that we used, or the primary thing that we use. And so that's what this is about. This, and that's why it's called Rehumanizing School, because I'd like to move the tests and all that comes along with the test, the pacing guides, the scripted curriculum, all of that. Let's deprioritize that and prioritize human wellness, and put the human back at the top of our priorities in terms of what do human beings need to flourish? What do teachers and students need to be well, physically, mentally, socially, emotionally well? What do they need? Because right now they're not well. And I could give you slide after slide of data to support that. But right now, teachers and students are not well, and they're not well because of the toxic system that they're in right now. Educators are doing amazing stuff, amazing things within that crappy system. Students are doing amazing things. So this is not an attack on them. This is an attack on the system. They deserve a better system. And that's what this documentary is about. So we're going to watch episode 3. This is about Blue Mountain School, a small school in Floyd. And this is their elementary school. And this is from the students' perspective and what they experience at the school. Hope you enjoy it. Feel free to comment while we're watching.
I used to go to many public schools in my life. I went to 4 or 5. And in those public schools I went to, it feels like they're rushing you. Like if you don't get this done in a certain period of time, you'll get like an F or something, like you have a certain amount of time, and if you don't get that due date, something happens. In Blue Mountain, they don't really rush you. They let you take you as long as you need, as long as you can get it done maybe by the end of the week if you can. If not, at least try to get it done over the weekend. So it doesn't put as much pressure on the kids I've seen go to public school and come here.
Well, I actually really enjoy getting up in the morning. I'm excited to go to school. It feels good because I know I'm gonna learn, but I also know it's like fun to learn here. Like I'm learning, but I'm also enjoying it. And so I'm excited, I'm like always excited to get up in the mornings. And like my brother used to like lay in bed and not want to get up, but now like yesterday morning he was up, like almost when we were, like getting his breakfast, excited to go to school, and I enjoy that. and I enjoy the way we learn. Like, we're learning, but we're having fun.
Here, every child is met where they are. And we try to have a really long-range view of development. It's not looking at just, well, all 6-year-olds have to do this. It's really thinking about where they are on their journey.
But it's based on learning from your environment and letting the student communicate to you their understanding of it, rather than asking their understanding to fit into a box that you're setting. And through doing it that way, it's empowering the student to take ownership of their learning, which creates more of a passion for that and more self-advocacy as they move on later. Their confidence in knowing that they can initiate that and learn to learn through that passion and ownership of it.
The teachers here are so compassionate too. Everybody's always like really, you know, accommodating. If you have an issue, they're always there, you know, you can talk to them. They take the kids seriously. So if a child has a concern, even if it's something as silly as wanting to bring a stuffy to school or something, you know, they'll be accommodating in a way where they might make once a month stuffy day, you know. It's just they take the kids seriously.
Sounds good.
Sounds good?
It changes your whole life. It makes you different, it makes you more kind. You're like, even though you're not gonna, like, when you go back to public school, it might be a bit hard on you because you've been somewhere else. But at least you get the right nourishment for certain stuff. And you get to spend times outside like all day long. In public school, got one big recess field, can't really go in the woods unless you're walking somewhere, like a big field trip to the library, somewhere. But in Blue Mountain, you can like see squirrels, deer, stuff like that. So this school definitely makes me a lot happier that I don't have anyone to bully me, nobody to make fun of me, which I let people joke around with my size because I'm little for how old I am. I am 10 and there's a 5-year-old that is bigger than me.
I like it because I get to learn a lot about nature, and this morning it was cold and we had a fire and it was really warm and it was amazing to be out there, and we sit on stumps when we're out in our outdoor classrooms, which is really fun, and it's just fun to be out in nature and to just kind of be with the animals and plants.
At Blue Mountain School, we are really moving toward this outdoor education approach. And I'm kind of shocked at our society and how we have a nature deficit disorder with our children. You know, all of the devices, the computers, the phones, our kids are really losing their connection with the natural world. And it is so important to get our kids outside.
We really view the outdoors as an extension of our classroom. So when we're outside, children are free to move, they're free to climb, they're free to run and jump. And almost every classroom has an additional outside time beyond recess. We all make that a really important part of our day. And as a teacher, it was so important to have a chunk of unstructured outdoor time between heavy academic areas, because it just gave them a chance to decompress. And then they come back and they're ready for more.
It's so relaxing and peaceful, and the kids, they really get to expand their energy and balance, you know, all the learning they're doing in play and doing what their bodies need to do and exploring and learning that way, and then coming back and having that bit more structured, writing and science time outside. And it's a nice balance for them and for me.
And one of the reasons I really, really do like Blue Mountain is because we get to be outside. And because the trees, you can literally see the trees' leaves fall off. It almost makes me cry of happiness just to see wildlife. I've always loved wildlife in my life.
It's just a basic human need to be outside and breathing the fresh air, and we're really, I feel like it's important that we raise children to have appreciation and reverence for the natural world so that they grow up to be stewards of the natural world, to not just look at an insect and go ooh and squish it, but really watch it and think about it and contemplate its existence as well as our own. I think, I really notice a shift in behavior when we're outside for some kids. When we're inside, things are a little bit louder, with the walls and the ceiling, and especially for some of our kind of sensory-seeking children, I think that being inside can feel kind of oppressive. I've found that there's a real calming and centering effect that the kids have had being outside.
I'm pretty much a wild boy, but when there's a bigger space and more field to play in, you just feel welcome. Plus, it's a beautiful day.
Getting outside is a game changer in education, just having the opportunity to go outside of your classroom door and let children just explore. Even if it's just a small area, even on the recess field here, we have enough space and enough diversity and plant life that they're just naturally fascinated. And it leads to really great conversations and really great projects and really amazing studies.
I like that it's really outdoors, and I I really like my enrichment. I love art and music and mindfulness, and I know that in public they don't do mindfulness as much. So I think it's really a privilege that we get to do that.
Yeah, and I would say my approach to mindfulness might be a little bit different than that word is used a lot these days. One of the most important things I try to instill in the children is that they are already naturally mindful when they're engaged in something that they love to do. And let's recognize what that is and learn how to develop that so that we can bring that same kind of focus to whatever we need in life.
What he does is he we work our way up in silence and just practicing being in the moment and not thinking about yesterday or what's happening in our future, just being right here, right now. And sometimes he reads us stories about that, and I really like the books that he reads.
We do sitting meditation, and that's not for everyone, but it's okay to try and witness what's going on inside you. Why can't you be present? Why am I distracted? And really work with it and develop. And over time, we start to see that each child develops their mindful awareness the way it's natural for them.
It makes me feel in the present and in the moment, and if I'm stressed out, it helps me calm down.
The mindful piece is the most basic thing to learning. If you can't be present, how can you learn? If a child has issues at home and they're bringing that with them and they're scattered all over the place, you've got to make a way to connect, redirect them, and give them the tools then to do it themselves.
On Mondays there is these things called morning circle. It's where everyone in the school gets in one big circle, and we go around and say how do you feel this week or today?
We also have a gratitude circle every Thursday afternoon where we come together again as a school community and we talk about what are we grateful for this week. And we know research shows us the important role that gratitude has in our mental health and so many other benefits that we get from taking the time for gratitude. And I think you see those values woven throughout everything we do every day.
My friend Riley, he was shy for the first 3 days of school until on Thursday while he was at recess up in that tree over there. I asked him what his name was and what he liked to do. From then on, we bonded and made friends.
Once you get to know this place a lot, you just feel welcome. Life's just kind of easy when you get to know this place a lot. And, you have friends.
When he came here, he told me that this is one of his best places he's ever been in his life. I was like, oh, well, that's good. Floyd is a really good place. You get to have fun, especially at Blue Mountain. You get to see a lot of kids' happiness. If you went to Blue Mountain, it would probably make your heart warm up.
We do this thing called Choose Love, and it's like we just did it. We just did it like a few minutes ago, where we kind of sit and we have these Choose Love journals. And yesterday we talked about like if you're in a conflict with your friends, how to like talk about it and listen to your friend. And we like drew a picture and like we like did all the things that you should do. And then today we did all the Today we did all the things we shouldn't do, like not listen and like just kind of like not like be with your friends, and that helps me. Like I've had conflicts with my friends that I use some of those things for, and it's really helpful.
And we talk about gratitude, compassion, and forgiveness, and bravery, and how putting forth those things, like we can be kinder to ourselves and to others. And it's really beautiful to see them make those connections, and it's also a nice reminder to go about our days like that and look for those things and bring them out more.
One of the things I love about the school so much is that the emotional, intelligence that they are taught here, the conflict resolution, the human skills, that they're taught here is phenomenal.
Because we emphasize social emotional learning as the most important foundation to all learning, and everyone who knows about education understands how important that piece is. And without social emotional education, the other also important academics won't fall into place nearly as easily, and sometimes not at all.
For example, today a friend just was having an emotional time with writing a number incorrectly, and I just sat with her for 10 minutes and we talked about what we can do to try again, and that it's okay to try again. And to me, that was much more important than focusing on the task at hand or just redirecting her to something else, because it was important to pause and for her to learn that today rather than get other things done.
Honestly, in public schools, I felt like we feared the students. We had to constantly manage them or prevent bad behavior, and it was this control situation, and we had to have authority and have them fear authority. Well, that creates a dependence upon authority. I mean, that model doesn't work, and then you've got this, then kids are behaving either to please you, they become people pleasers, or they're behaving to rebel against you. But there's not this authentic empowerment. I'm going to do what's right, even when that surveillance camera isn't videoing it. I'm going to do what's right because I know it feels right. It feels good to me. Right. But if you're not cultivated, if you're only you're only brought up to do what you do because you're afraid of getting in trouble or you want a prize, that leaves the self undeveloped. And so what I would love, and what happens here at Blue Mountain, is we are cultivating a self that can then be self-directed, can be self-regulated, and then grows up to be what it's really meant to be, rather than a reaction or a response to these external things. There's an actual, I'm a seed and this is what I'm growing up to be. So this is a supportive environment. It's like tilled, fertile soil, and then the kids are taken care of to be whatever they are. What a tulip or a zinnia or whatever it is. It's not everybody's going to be, a rose.
It's attuned to what people truly need at that age, rather than the focus on the final goal. Letting people develop at their natural pace of childhood and growth.
The kids are going to be okay. Like just providing them the support, like the social emotional support, is so much more important than rushing them to do something else before they're ready or before they really have an interest in it.
Allowing the subject matter to be driven by the kids' interest, I think it really helps that learning feel more, have more meaning. When you feel like your teaching comes from that place of that relationship where you're encouraged and free to love these children and to really see them for who they are and to really listen to them. It feeds me as a teacher so much. I leave feeling not just tired from all the physical work of being a teacher, but also like full and energized by all my interactions. And that having a school and a place where those interactions are like the heart of the teaching, that those relationships that you have with the students, that you're really seeing and hearing them, and they're feeling seen and heard. You know, we're giving so much to them, but then we're also receiving so much, and that teaching is that relationship.
And I'm gonna say this off the bottom of my heart. If you ever come to Blue Mountain, I hope it makes you really happy. I really do.
Okay. That was episode 3, and if you go to the website, I'll put it up there again. You can watch all of the episodes. There's four episodes. There is also a preface episode, and if you didn't watch the beginning of this live stream, before you launch into all 4 episodes, I hope that you'll watch the preface, because I do explain some things that are really important to sort of frame what this document series is about and what it's intended to do. I'd love to hear your comments about it. I want to thank those who are watching. We're going to watch the 4th episode. So if you are a high school teacher and you're wondering how this might look at the high school level, so there is a school in that same community called Springhouse Community School, and it's a high school, and a very, very similar culture. In fact, it sprang up out of the same community. And I think one of the things that I've been, as I go around and show these episodes and I talk about this, teachers and students, no matter where you are, no matter what your zip code is, no matter whether you're in a city or you're in a rural area, all deserve a humane system to be in. We are human beings going into these buildings. And what was so fascinating to me when I went to Floyd to premiere, I had just been in a school in South Carolina, and I won't say which one, but I went in and there's 2 security officers. I'm having to go through a metal detector, have my bags searched, and I was inside the entire time in a room with no windows. And the next day I was in Floyd at the school you're about to see. And no searches, no metal detectors, no security officers, and plenty of time outside and plenty of creative and social activities to do. And the contrast like really stirred something in me. It really upset me, because you shouldn't have to be in a rural town and go to a private school to be in a space that treats you like a human being and that gives you what you need as a human being to flourish. Like when we think about safety issues, we think about gun issues, we think about violence, we think about the mental health issues that so many of our students are facing, and our teachers there's a crisis of mental health issues and stress with our teachers. And instead of doing something about it, we double down on the things that are creating the problems in the first place. And then we wonder why there's this mass exodus from the profession, not only here in South Carolina, but across the country. And we have a hard time recruiting young people into the profession. I mean, think about that. It shouldn't be that way. It should be, we should have so many people wanting to go into teaching that we almost have to be like the medical profession, where we have to kind of pick and choose who goes into the profession, because what are they doing? What are these people doing? They're working with young people and preparing them for their future and helping them navigate their youth. That's an incredibly important job. And those people who do that job shouldn't have to have a second job to support themselves. You know, when I was teaching, it was like I pretty much always had a second job, and in the summer 2 or 3 extra jobs. It shouldn't be that way. You don't know doctors, your orthopedic surgeons aren't having to go work at a restaurant, wait tables on the weekends to make ends meet. It's ridiculous that we're not paying teachers what they deserve. But it's not just about the pay and the working conditions. It's about this system that they have to go into. And they just want to teach, and they just want to do what these teachers are doing here in these schools, follow the students' needs, follow their curiosity. And a lot of teachers are able to do that, but many aren't. I was lucky to teach broadcast journalism. There was no standardized test for it. So I had so much freedom in what I could teach and how I could approach the subject. And the students generally liked the class. But when you've got a pacing guide and a textbook and a curriculum, and someone's going to come in there and make sure that you're doing that with fidelity, there's so much pressure on you that you can't always follow the students' needs. And yet there's amazing teachers doing the best they can within that system. So if you're a high school teacher, we're about to watch episode 4, and this is Springhouse Community School from the student's perspective.
Something that needs to be worked on in the public school is all of the groups, there's cliques, you know, and there's friend groups, but there's just like a wall, what feels like, put between every student and every group. It was a competition almost, like you want to be better than everyone else is what it felt like. There was always a feeling of insecurity, definitely a sense of like wanting to belong, but like not knowing how to. With Springhouse, they just show everyone how to like exist together and how we can all work together and grow beautiful relationships.
I don't know, there's a lot of positivity and uplifting that goes on. People will ask you how you're doing, how your day's been, how your weekend has been, and like, they kind of just empower you.
It's very like open to a lot of people. It attracts a very diverse group. I think it like builds people up instead of knocking people down.
Yeah, here I've never felt like I was going to be judged for my identity, and I've always felt like I'm allowed to be whoever I want to be. Like I changed my name halfway through the school year last year, and everyone just like accepted that, so like fully, like no questions asked, and that was something that really like made me happy. And yeah, I think that's like, that was like a really big eye-opener for me too.
I feel like a lot of times why other people don't like public school is because it's designed for one kind of learner, and some people learn in an absolutely different way.
Absolutely.
And it just isn't working for some kids, and it's not that they're not smart at all, it's just they don't learn in the kind of way public school teaches.
Everyone's in line with the school, and we're all working towards bettering ourselves and the school and strengthening ourselves in a healthy way. Being able to like communicate with people in a positive and reinforcing way wasn't something I was used to. And so like the first year I went there, it was like hard for me. Like even in the mornings, it was weird because people would be like, "Morning, Kai." And for me, like, I don't know. No one ever really said stuff like that. And it was just a completely different environment for me.
So many kids are like, "Oh, I can't believe summer break's over," and for me it's like, "Woo, I get to go back to school."
Yeah, it's a really inviting space, I feel like, and it's the first time that I've ever actually been excited and look forward to going to school.
Because it's such a small town and county, there's a lot of connection between everyone in Floyd. Everyone is part of a community and knows each other and will support each other.
Just like one of like maybe like favorite things, it's a really strong and loving community. And I know that's something that like a lot of people haven't had before, and especially in like this sense. But like it's really nice.
It's like okay to be how I'm feeling, so like even if I'm not necessarily having like the best day in the world, or like if I'm having a hard time, I like can like go there and there's people who are going to listen, and it's not like anger towards like just quit whining or whatever. And it's like if there's something that's bothering me, it might be like honored, and there's friends that I can talk to about it. And even, or if you're like really excited about something, everybody's like really happy for you too.
I feel like they're just really accepting to all kinds of people, whether you're trans or like, I feel like they're just really accepting there, and that's something I really appreciate about Springhouse.
Yeah, you can be exactly who you are.
You can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah, here I've never felt like I was going to be judged for my identity, and I've always felt that I'm allowed to be whoever I want to be. Like, I changed my name halfway through the school year last year, and everyone just like accepted that, so like fully, like no questions asked, and that was something that really like made me happy. And yeah, I think that's like, that was like a really big eye-opener for me too. And so the fact that like just like people were just like immediately so willing to like call me by it without really having to ask any questions is really great. It means so much to me. It's something I have not experienced in a lot of other places. And just how immediately open everyone was to it, and just like the overwhelming, like, oh, I like that, Spencer suits you kind of like response I got from it. Just like it really boosted my confidence, and yeah, so I couldn't trade for anything.
Singing to me kind of just, it gives me a sense of power, and I really get to express myself when singing. Like any emotion that comes up, I get to put that into the way I sing. Like if I'm feeling really angry one day, I'll put that into my singing and sing maybe louder than one day where I'm feeling more confined. Then I feel like it just puts a lot of emotion into it, and it's a way to express myself ultimately is what singing is for me.
Singing as a community is it's really fun. It's like just getting to like put your voice out there in the circle and like separating into parts. It makes you feel like you're really contributing to something. And then with dance is a really good way to like express our emotions, I feel. And because some things just can't be said with words. Sometimes you just have to move to really like go through something. It just helps a lot with like either just like being anxious or like just like needing to put out there how you're feeling.
Dancing is great expression, like great self-expression. It's good at like releasing pent-up energy, like getting things off your chest, just like running around, being wild, having fun. And singing it's just really fun. It's also very connecting with other people. You have to be with your group and listen to the whole, and it's just fun and it sounds awesome.
I'm not a comfortable or confident singer, and I remember when I first started having to do that, it was really hard for me. And it completely sucked having to hear my own voice. So it was nice like being able to sing with people so I could hear everyone else's but mine. And now when I sing, I enjoy it, and I can like sing with everyone, and I sing a lot louder, and I don't feel the most confident still, but I'm proud of how I do, and singing just helps like bring everyone together and has a different sort of strength that is like a loving strength.
So we do mindfulness every morning before we start our school day. I think that it's a good way to come into the moment and come in ready to learn from the chaos of life. Like everything's going on, it's chaotic school morning, getting ready, we drive here, and then it's like 5 to 10 minutes of just really getting in the moment, and it's helpful for me to kind of put away all of the stress of everything else just for a little while and get ready for the day.
Yeah, it's definitely like getting you to be in the now, where we as people often are like thinking about something else
absolutely.
And like aware of what is happening right now, and I feel like I should do that more.
Absolutely.
I think how it served me is with getting me in the right mind space, or remembering where I am before really starting to get into schoolwork.
To me, it's kind of a way to ground my energy and just kind of calm myself in the morning, because before school I feel like there's a lot of stress and anxiety built up of like, I have to get this done or this schoolwork done, and there's not a lot of kind of peace of mind. And having a morning where you just get to come and sit down in the morning and just close your eyes and breathe, I feel like is really nice, and it sets a good atmosphere for the rest of the day.
It really helps ground me. I know at the beginning of the day especially, I can have like a lot going through my head. And like, you know, it's like, oh, what work should I get done today? Oh, what do I have to do for this class? My essay, what am I gonna write? But like, doing mindfulness, it kind of like, it silences it all for a few minutes, and I just come out of it so much calmer.
They really encourage you to not try to like think, just like to let your thoughts pass by and like focus on like your breathing or your heartbeat. And it's like, sometimes if I've been like having a hard day that morning or even just exciting, it's like, okay, now I'm in school now and I'm doing mindfulness. It's like a little way to get yourself like ready for school.
I personally love morning meditation. It's, I think, a really good way for me to start my day at school, because in the morning, I know every person's morning process is different, and mine is pretty hectic and disorganized. So it's nice to have some time set aside for to get in your senses and feel in your body. After meditation, I'll come out feeling more grounded, and I feel a lot calmer, but it's not like some tired calm. I'm definitely more energized, but it's like some grounded strength.
Something else that's important to me at Springhouse are apprenticeships, because that really focuses on life skills and on the hands-on part of it, like carpentry. Building this deck or this outdoor classroom has helped me gain quite a few carpentry skills that I think could take me farther in life than if I didn't know them.
I had my first apprenticeship at Spikenard Honeybee Sanctuary, and so there I got to help look after beehives, and I did a lot of farming. I did a lot of planting trees, pulling weeds, and just it felt very much like I was doing a good thing.
So this apprenticeship is basically about harvesting and collecting from the soil. What we've done today is a little scouting of the land, looking around the area, and basically just exploring and checking out all the different trees, chestnut trees.
Today is a Thursday, and I have an apprenticeship at Habitat for Humanity, where I am volunteering to help build houses like this one. The idea is here to build housing for families, and at least from my understanding, the mission is for Habitat of Humanity is to remodel and make houses for people who can't afford or need the help.
So we get a lot of exposure to the community, and we get to go out of campus a lot to engage with other people, and also kind of help us explore what we might want to do as a career in the future, or potential jobs, this sort of thing, because we get to dabble and we get to try out multiple different things in internships and apprenticeships.
I got in trouble a lot, and I never learned. Yeah. I kept on doing the same stuff every time I got in trouble. And it was just a sweat on the wrist. And so it was a lot easier to look the other way, or just say whatever and just be mean and not absorb it, or just listen and deflect it. With Springhouse, whenever I do something, I wouldn't really say bad, but something that needs work or should be pointed out, it's never a bad or negative experience for me. It's them pointing out what needs work and giving me sources and alternate ways to go about things in a healthier manner.
Teenagers are the next adults, and if we're not taught what's actually going on, then there's no way we're going to be able to fix it, with global warming and and racism and all these really hard and horrible things.
I think that it kind of highlights that everything can be looked at in a different way. It's reimagining education, so I can reimagine so many things in life that cultural stereotypes kind of force on you, and it's kind of a way to help break out of it, if that makes sense. It's reimagining a way to live that's more holistic and more connected and grounded.
It's possible to find something like this everywhere, or it's possible to make it. So I guess to remember, kind of off of one of the poems that we read often, to not look outside of yourself for the leader. So I guess to remember to stand up, or if you don't have something like this, try and make it, or try and find other people that also want something like this.
I feel like a lot of people are closed off to a different way of looking at education or schooling because the norm is not to do it like this. So I feel like being open to doing something different, it just feels a lot more real. I don't feel like a cog in the system in a way that in like a huge school of thousands of people all just monotonously getting through to get an A and get to move on. I feel like I'm really heard here, and it's like really important, and it's not just a superficial like thing to get out of the way so that I can get into college. That's very real.
I felt like I had to fight for a long time, and even if there wasn't a valid reason, it was just engraved in me. And I was wrong. There isn't a need to fight. I think Springhouse has helped me out a lot. And now, instead of feeling like there's a need to fight, I feel like this need to heal and grow relationships. And I wouldn't be aware of that without Springhouse.
All right, everybody, that was episode 4 of Rehumanizing School. You can watch the entire thing right here at cool.us/rehumanizing school. All 4 episodes are there, along with a preface and bonus materials. So if you enjoyed one of those students or adults in those episodes, the full raw interviews are all posted on the website as well. But one of the things that when I was watching that and thinking about what's happening here in South Carolina with book bans and the forced outing of trans students, and instead of doing things to actually make schools more humane, we're moving in the opposite direction. We're actually creating more trauma, more issues, and actually preventing the healing that you saw from Kai there at the end, what he talked about. Our schools should be places set up to allow people to heal, not just the students, but the teachers as well. They should be healing places. They should not be places that create more trauma. And unfortunately, in my experience, what I've seen is not the teachers, it's not the students, it's the system that they find themselves in, the structures they find themselves in that often prevent their healing and often create more issues. And we're so myopically focused on standardized tests that we forget that it's human beings. These are human beings, and they have a right to be treated as such, as human beings, not as test preparers and test takers. But we're human beings who have physical needs, who have mental health needs, social needs, and emotional needs. And these schools in Floyd do such a brilliant job of prioritizing that first, and that's why this is called Rehumanizing School. So I hope that you will, if you enjoyed this, that you'll watch all the episodes. Please feel free to share those. They're not behind a paywall. They're not password protected. Anybody can watch these. If you'd like to set up a screening, I'll be happy to do that. We can bring in some of the teachers from these schools that can be brought in to do panel discussions, and I'm happy to talk with you about it. If you have pushback, if there's things you didn't like about this series, I'd love to hear that, your pushback as well, so we can talk through that. And I'm always trying to better understand how this work is received. I do appreciate those of you who tuned in tonight. I hope that you enjoyed watching the docuseries. I hope that the goal of it is not to prescribe how everybody should do things, but to spark a conversation about, this is something that I've found, no matter where you are on the political spectrum, people are against this idea of over-testing kids. I mean, I don't know too many educators who think that we need more testing or that the amount of testing is great and we just need to reinforce it. I really don't, and I don't know many parents. And it doesn't matter whether you're on the left or the right. I've just not heard a lot of people saying, these standardized tests are amazing. They've made our school so much better, and the environment for our kids is so much better. Instead, what I hear is like, we don't have recess anymore. When my dad was at the end of his career, like they weren't letting him go on field trips. Kids aren't going outdoors as much. And when I started my career, we didn't have metal detectors. We didn't have bag searches every day, and now we do. Like, what is happening in terms of the culture of inside our school? What is happening where we've become so disconnected from what human beings need, just to meet the needs of a standardized test, a bubble in test? It makes no sense to me, and I don't think this is a political issue in terms of left, right. I don't think this is a conservative or liberal thing. I think this is just a human thing, and I hope that if you are interested in building towards that kind of a system, the kind of humane system that all educators and students deserve, that you'll consider doing what it says down at the bottom there, and that is joining our movement at the SCEA. You can go to jointhescea.org right now to learn more about what we're doing and join our movement. If you are an educator in South Carolina, you can also go to the Cool website and learn more about what we do at our Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. We have all kinds of great resources on that website. I just want a few things I want to promote. If you want to learn more about yoga, you can go to the Cool website and look under wellness, and there's all kinds of yoga videos that Alex Del Castillo does. Coming up on October 22nd, we have a young teacher in his second year named Shaheem President at Berea Middle School. Is going to talk about his reflections on his first year of teaching. We have Mel Moore coming on September 12th. She's going to be talking about advocating in the Palmetto State. We got Mev McIntosh. Many of you may know her, talking about her journey as an advocate. We have Jaleesa White coming on, talking about how mindfulness changed her life. That's October 8th. On October 24th, we have Audrey Kalianos, who's going to be talking about gut health and anxiety. On the 6th of November, we've got Erica Ayers, who's going to be talking about supporting student health head to heart. We have our teacher induction symposium that's coming up November 9th. So if you're in the first 5 years of your teaching career and you'd like to come spend a day with us to learn and grow and connect, that's our teacher induction symposium. And for induction teachers, we have free Cool coaching. It's online. It's one-to-one. You'll meet with one of these three veteran, amazing educators. We're going to start that next week. So I think it starts September 3rd. So 3rd and the 5th. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening from 6 to 8 o'clock. All you have to do is go to cool.us/coaching to learn more. And to learn more, there's a Zoom link there. You can connect and ask questions, get advice that you need for your career. And the last thing is our Cool Beans. Our first episode was with Angelica and Marcella. Will be September 26th at 6 o'clock. So lots of things coming up in the Cool world. We thank you for being a part of the Cool world. And once again, just if you'd like to watch the rest of this docuseries, just go to cool.us/rehumanizing school. And again, please share these resources with educators and start the conversation. And hopefully we can move to the kind of education system that all